Chapter 1090. By the time she returned to the cave, Leah had just served the piping hot meal on the table. Meanwhile, Awaken was using his life to act out the longing for her with paralysis. Gu Mengmeng felt that Awaken had never looked forward to seeing her so much in his life. Gu Mengmeng could not compare to a bowl of meat. Barit sat quietly at the dining table. That was the spot he had sat at in the afternoon. For some reason, that seat seemed to belong to him. He just wanted to guard it and not let anyone else sit there. Ian leaned against a tree with his arms crossed, still looking at Gu Mengmeng with a sickly look. Gu Mengmeng paused when she walked past him and asked, "You have something to tell me too, right? Why, is your sister going to give birth too?" Ian rolled his eyes at Gu Mengmeng. He wanted to rebuke her, but held himself back because of Wabi beside her. He just said, "Mandy confessed to me." Mandy was one of the 16 valued females brought back from the beauty pageant. She was crowned the first beauty of the beast world by Gu Mengmeng because she had recruited the most warriors to enter Saint Nazir at the same time. Gu Mengmeng thought about it. It seemed that ever since she told everyone the story of the flying bird and the fish, Mandy had been especially attentive towards Ian. She was sure that the flying bird in the story was Ian. She did not know whether it was her maternal instincts overflowing or she had a special desire to conquer males who had been hurt in love. Anyway, this Mandy had been trying to please Ian for a long time. Ian did not say anything, neither did he reject nor accept. But he had never given other females other than Mandy the chance to please him, so Gu Mengmeng was not surprised. She just nodded and said, "You intend to mate with her?" Ian remained silent for a moment before replying, "If you don't object, I will mate with her. After all, I have already reached the peak of 3rd level. If I want to break through, I have to mate with her." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback for a moment. She snorted and said, "Scumbag." Gu Mengmeng thought that only the Snake King Valley would use females as a tool to level up. Ian chuckled and said, "I told Mandy that this is the reason why I am willing to mate with her. She agreed to it herself." Gu Mengmeng looked at Ian with narrowed eyes for a while, then patted his shoulder and said, "Why do you have to do this, just like him? Do you have to make it sound so official and hide your emotions behind your motive? Why bother? At that time, if she really misunderstands you, won't you be the one who will be sad?" The tip of Ian's ear was stained with a suspicious red. He turned his face to the side and said, "I don't understand what you're saying." Gu Mengmeng did not expose him. She just swung her arms back and forth and said, "It's all right if you don't understand what I am saying. You just need to know what you are doing." Mandy was a good girl. Although she was a little arrogant at times, she was considered very gentle and considerate compared to the other females in the beast world. If you really hurt her heart, you'll be the one regretting it. Gu Mengmeng did not need to mention how good Mandy was, but Ian himself knew it very well. It was just that he felt a little awkward in his heart. Tilting his head, Ian looked at Gu Mengmeng from the corner of his eyes. He was a little hesitant, but he still opened his mouth to ask, "Do you really agree to me mating?" Chapter 1091. Ian clenched his fists and took 8 deep breaths before barely stabilizing his emotions. Then, he said, "Did you forget that I was the one who formed the blood alliance with Leah? Once I mate, the blood alliance will be useless." Gu Mengmeng already knew about this long ago. Crossing her arms in front of her chest, Gu Mengmeng squinted at Ian and said, "You flirted with Mandy last year and delayed mating until this year, just because of this?" Ian did not admit nor deny it. He just lowered his head and looked to the side. Although the bird tribe had always been arrogant, Ian was after all a hot-blooded male and did not have much resistance towards females. Moreover, Mandy was beautiful and passionate, so it was natural that he could not resist the temptation. It was just that Gu Mengmeng had been too busy for the past year and did not have the time to observe the emotional world of each of her friends. As a result, they had wasted so much time. Gu Mengmeng patted Ian's shoulder and said, "Didn't I tell you before? Our Saint Nazir does not rely on the blood alliance to keep people, but on the hearts of others. If your heart is with me, I don't need to restrict you and you will stay. If your heart is not here, you will only try your best to escape even with the blood alliance. What's the point of that? Ian looked at Gu Meng Meng and did not say a word. Gu Meng Meng had indeed told him these words in the past, but Ian had not met Mandy then, so he did not take it seriously. After that, Ian developed feelings for Mandy but was not sure how sincere Gu Meng Meng's words were. Moreover, even though the Eagle Owl tribe had pledged allegiance to Saint Nazir and many of their tribesmen had mated with Saint Nazir's females, he was still carrying a blood oath. He was also worried that once he mated and broke the blood oath, would Gu Meng Meng suspect that the Eagle Owl tribe was disloyal. But now, it seemed that he had thought too much. Gu Meng Meng was much more broad-minded than him. Gu Meng Meng sat back at the table and ate a mouthful of the meat in her bowl. She sighed in satisfaction and said, "You are after all the leader of the Eagle Owl tribe, your marriage must be held in a grand manner. It just so happens that Saint Nazir hasn't been lively for a long time, let's use your name to celebrate. Let's all have some fun." Ian walked to Gu Meng Meng awkwardly and stood by the table to look at her. After a long while, he said, "The Eagle Owl tribe has ceased to exist in this world since 2 years ago. I am also not some tribe leader. Pretentious." Gu Meng Meng clicked her tongue and did not reply. It was rare for Gu Meng Meng to say such things to him, but he did not have the urge to retaliate. He just lowered his head and said, "Gu Meng Meng, thank you." Gu Meng Meng chuckled. "Yeah, mate before winter. Don't drag it out for too long. By then, your status in the family will be lowered again." Ian gritted his teeth and said, Man will only accept me as her partner this year. My position in the family will not be much lower. Man. Gu Meng Meng looked at Ian meaningfully. Ian's ears turned even redder. He flapped his wings and said, "Since you don't have any objections, I'll go and tell Man. I won't disturb your meal." Gu Meng Meng waved her hands and said, "Bye-bye." After Ian flew away, only Gu Meng Meng's family of 3, Wabi, Oratin and Barit, were left. Gu Meng Meng propped her chin on her hand and said thoughtfully, "The people around me seem to be getting lesser and lesser." Chapter 1092. Gu Meng Meng. Wabi stood up from the stone bench. He placed one hand on the table and leaned his upper body forward. He placed his other hand on Gu Meng Meng's shoulder and said with a troubled expression, "Winter is coming and I don't have much time left to accompany you. Hurry up and do whatever you want to do, or else I won't be able to do it with you once I hibernate." "Ah, you have to leave too." Yes, Wabi had to return to the Snake King Valley twice a year, during the winter and dry seasons. Once the snow sealed the mountain, Gu Meng Meng could only stay in the cave with Elvis and Leah for at least 2 to 3 months. During the first winter, she and Elvis had just become partners and were in their honeymoon period. Later on, Leah barged in and the 3 of them stayed together in all sorts of awkward situations. Coupled with the fact that she was groggy due to her pregnancy, time flew by unknowingly. During the second winter, she went to solder because of Cole's scheme. Other than Elvis and Leah, there were still the 3 little ones by her side. Although she was worried that Chi Xian was always hanging out with Cole, they were still a lively family and time passed quickly. This year, there was only her, Elvis and Leah left. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and chuckled. "In the past, I spent the entire year alone and didn't feel lonely. Now that I'm used to having many friends by my side, I can't get used to the sudden silence." Gu Meng Meng turned to look at Elvis and smiled dejectedly. "Hubby, am I too greedy?" Elvis's heart ached at the look of disappointment on her face. He kissed her brow gently. "Why don't we dig the underground of Saint Nazir too? Then you can find whoever you want to play with during winter, all right?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head. "Sandy is not around and I don't have any friends to play with." Then I'll ask someone to fetch her back to accompany you. Elvis felt bitter. He had schemed with Leah for so long before he finally got rid of the 4 little ones and Sandy finally stopped fighting with them for his affections. But now, he had to fetch her back with his own hands. TSK, Sandy was indeed his #1 love rival. He had to be wary of her. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. Sandy has her own life, I can't always let her revolve around me. Upon hearing this, Elvis heaved a sigh of relief. Wabi cleared his throat and said, how about I stay behind to accompany you this winter? Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips and looked at Wabi in disdain. You always sleep like a log every winter. Other than taking up space, you are useless. What's there to compensate? More importantly, hibernating outside the Snake King Valley was not safe for Wabi. Be it temperature, humidity, or other factors, they were all unknown. For animals, the unknown was equal to danger. Although Wabi was very powerful, Gu Meng Meng was unwilling to let him take such an unnecessary risk. Besides, you know that I hate snakes, I hate shit, and I hate snakes that look like shit. You have all 3 of them, and you still want to sleep in my cave for the whole winter. Aren't you afraid that I won't be able to control myself and make you into snake soup? Chapter 1093. Gu Meng Meng laughed dryly. Damn, you have reached a whole new level of self-deprecation. Respect, respect. Wabi lifted his chin and took it as a compliment. He mimicked Gu Meng Meng and cupped his fists. Well said, well said. After the hubbub, everyone dispersed. The next morning, Gu Meng Meng woke up early, which surprised Leah and Elvis. They circled the large stone basin like a baby and giggled for a long time before leaving the cave. Oratin had yet to return from his hunt. According to Gu Meng Meng's usual schedule, her breakfast would only start in another 2 hours or so. However, she had woken up early today, causing Oratin, who shared his meals with her, to be unprepared. Barit and Wabi were standing near the entrance of the cave. They were also surprised to see Gu Meng Meng come out so early. Barit didn't say a word, but Wabi looked up lazily. Why? You can't bear to see me leave. So you're making use of the time to get used to me. Gu Meng Meng didn't retort. She just chuckled. I have to order you around while you can still move. Wabi's eyes lit up the moment he heard that. He straightened his back and asked Gu Meng Meng, who do I want to beat up? When do I go? Gu Meng Meng chuckled. Wabi was the most warlike person in this world. But it was rare for him to be so energetic. Gu Meng Meng didn't want to explain that he was overthinking. She just smiled and told Barit. Gather all the single males in the tribe and follow me out after breakfast. All right. Barit remembered that he had already given his life to Gu Meng Meng. So he didn't need to differentiate between right and wrong when it came to Gu Meng Meng's orders. He would do whatever she said. Wabi clicked his tongue. What's the point of gathering so many useless people? Isn't it enough to have me? Gu Meng Meng thought about it and smiled in a flattering manner. Then our great Wabi must be seen by everyone in the world. Wabi instantly felt a chill down his spine. He looked at Gu Meng Meng defensively. Are you trying to harm me? Gu Meng Meng nodded calmly. I want to turn you into snake slices and eat you. Wabi snorted in disdain. I'm afraid you'll die from overeating. While they were fooling around, Oratin had already returned from his hunt. Seeing that Gu Meng Meng had already woken up, he was first taken aback before his expression loosened. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. We can start eating early today. What a pleasant day. He still had a poker face, but Gu Meng Meng could almost see the colorful flowers blooming on top of his head spinning, as if he had activated the special effect of beautification. Holding her forehead, Gu Meng Meng felt that her cuteness might have gone awry. Elvis and Leah did not know what Gu Meng Meng wanted to do, but they were happy to see her full of energy. He had been worried that she would be depressed over Fei Rui's departure, Ian's mating, Wabiai's hibernation, and Sandy's absence. Oriton was in a good mood because he had an early breakfast, because having an early breakfast meant that he could have an early lunch and then an early dinner. Wabiai was also in a good mood because there was a fight to fight. The single males in the tribe were also very happy. They were inexplicably excited because they had the opportunity to do something for the great messenger. Chapter 1094. After that, there were many different versions of what happened in the beast world. The general direction was about how Gu Mengmeng led the people of Saint Nazir in a tough battle against the stray beasts, so much so that the stray beasts were too weak to come out and harass other tribes. Even those tribes that were treated as food every year were spared. This directly pushed Gu Mengmeng's reputation in the beast world to another level. Of course, there were many people who added fuel to the fire, such as spreading information to guide public opinion and ordering the stray beasts not to go out and hunt during this winter. However, these were all stories to be told later, so let's not talk about it for now. Everyone except for Gu Mengmeng herself was dumbfounded when she saw Gu Mengmeng standing by the lake with her arms crossed in front of her chest. Gu Mengmeng smiled and asked Elvis, "Do you still remember this place?" Elvis looked around, then nodded with a chuckle, saying, "I remember, I came here before." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, "Yeah, I just wanted to go down and touch a lotus root, but you thought I was going to commit suicide and threw a huge tantrum at me. Silly girl." Elvis rubbed Gu Mengmeng's little head and sighed, thinking to himself that he was not throwing a tantrum at that time, he was scared stiff by her. He thought she was going to transmigrate back and abandon him. The moment he saw her enter the water, he even held his breath. His heart forgot to beat and his pupils dilated instantly. He could still remember the feeling of his blood freezing at that time. At that time, he deeply felt fear and terror. The feeling of watching her slip through the cracks of his fingers, trying his best to hold on to her, but unable to touch her despite the ripples in the water. Even now, when he thought about it, he still felt like his heart was being pricked by countless needles. Gu Mengmeng did not refute and only took 2 steps back, saying, "I won't go near the water's surface, I will just stand here. You won't be worried like this, right?" Elvis chuckled and kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead, saying, "Go down if you want to, I'm not worried." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. She clearly remembered that Elvis looked like he was possessed the moment she got close to the surface of the lake. Now he suddenly said that he was not worried. Elvis pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms and said, "At that time, I was too uneasy. I was worried that I was nothing in your heart, worried that you would abandon me without hesitation, worried that there was nothing in the beast world that was worth your nostalgia. I was too afraid that you would smile at me and say goodbye before falling into the lake, sinking all the way down to a place where I can no longer reach." At that time, she had not mated with Leah yet. Elvis always felt that she only loved Leah and not him. No matter how many times she said that, he just thought she was comforting him. From the bottom of his heart, he did not believe that she had feelings for him. Did he really think that she could abandon him at any time? So no matter how tormented his heart was, he still tried his best to bring her and Leah together, just so that he could place a little more bargaining chip on her scale. As long as she hesitated for a second when she wanted to leave, it would be enough for him to catch her in time. At the end of the day, it was the incident of her jumping into the lake when she was heartbroken that had traumatized Elvis. Now, he said he was not afraid anymore. So. Chapter 1095. I'm sorry. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and planted a kiss between her brows. His eyes were filled with adoration. "I didn't believe this earlier." Gu Mengmeng hugged Elvis back and rested her chin on his chest. "It's not too late to believe it now." Gu Mengmeng tiptoed and kissed Elvis on the chin. "Then can I enter the water?" Elvis lowered his head and held the back of her head with one hand. He quickly kissed her lips, which she was about to pull away from. After a long lingering kiss, he said gently, "I will accompany you." Whenever Gu Mengmeng was around, everyone's gazes would unknowingly be on her. This resulted in this kiss being a public performance. Although they had been married for 2 years and had given birth to 4 children, Gu Mengmeng still felt it was inappropriate to display their affection in public. Blushing, she plunged into the water. Following that, 2 splashing sounds could be heard. Elvis and Leah must have jumped in right after her. Gu Mengmeng swam for a while before popping her head out to take a look. She realized that her 2 men and Wabi were all in the water. But they were clearly standing. Damn, height was indeed her weakness. The lotus flowers had already wilted. Only a large patch of lotus leaves swayed gently in the middle of the lake. Gu Mengmeng swam towards the middle of the lake. Elvis and Leah followed closely behind her, guarding her on both sides. Gu Mengmeng tried to dig out a lotus root. But it was hard for her to use her strength underwater. Hence, she could only return to the surface and explain the rough plan to Wabi, before ordering him to do the hard work. Wabi stared at Gu Mengmeng with a king's disdainful gaze. "Don't tell me that this is what you need my help with." Gu Mengmeng couldn't help but want to laugh at the thought of Wabi being happy the entire morning because he thought there was going to be a fight. She had been enjoying teasing Wabi more and more recently. It was quite interesting to see him hopping mad but unable to do anything to her. Although she had always been the one bullying Wabi never bore a grudge against her. Instead, the more she bullied him, the better their relationship became. This made Gu Mengmeng feel at ease. Gu Mengmeng really did not like that kind of relationship where she had to handle it carefully. Wabi didn't even need to dive into the water to dig out the lotus roots. In his half-beast form, he used his snake tail to probe into the mud, and with a casual tug, a huge lotus root was pulled out of the water along with the mud. Wabi did not hold back at all and directly threw it at Gu Mengmeng. Elvis quickly caught the lotus root that was as thick as Gu Mengmeng's thigh, then looked at her in a daze. Although Elvis's hands were quick and avoided the lotus root hitting her face, it did not stop the mud on the lotus root from splashing onto Gu Mengmeng's face. F***ck. Now, Gu Mengmeng could act as master bow just by sticking a crescent on her face. Little. **T. Gu Mengmeng wiped her face carelessly, then picked up the lotus and chased after Wabi. It was rare for Wabi to take advantage of something, and he felt an inexplicable sense of accomplishment. He felt as if he had reached the peak of his life. How could she catch up to Wabi in the water? Even if she had the kiss of the beast god, she wouldn't be able to swim faster than a snake. Chapter 1096. The truth was, Wabi still came up after all, and Gu Mengmeng did not really slice him into slices and stew the lotus roots. That was because he had plucked almost all the lotus roots in the water before coming up. At that moment, Gu Mengmeng only had eyes for the lotus roots and had long forgotten about chopping Wabi. This lake was a distance away from Saint Nazaire, and they had only arrived in the afternoon after setting off in the morning. Although Wabi was strong, he only had one tail. Although there were other males in the water to help, their swimming skills were not as good as Wabi's, and it was more strenuous for them to work underwater. So by the time everyone finished plucking the lotus roots, it was already midnight. During this period, Gu Mengmeng had already eaten dinner and instructed everyone not to wash off all the mud on the lotus roots so that they could maintain their freshness. After camping out in the wild for a night, the atmosphere was very good. When Gu Mengmeng was not around, Saint Nazaire was always in a tense state. The males with partners focused on protecting their own females, while the single males risked their lives to protect the tribe. Although they loved to fight, a long battle would also make them very tired. On such a bloodless night, everyone laughed and chatted around the messenger of the beast deity, doing something that was not difficult but required unity. This level of physical labor was not enough to make the males feel tired, but this was the first time in their lives digging lotus roots, and they often ended up covered in mud. Occasionally, they would even get hit in the head by the lotus roots. Although they did not suffer any injuries, they still ended up chasing each other around. In the tranquil night, everyone discussed the interesting things that happened during the day as waves of laughter rippled out. In such an atmosphere, Gu Mengmeng had a dreamless night and slept exceptionally soundly. The next morning, Gu Mengmeng woke up on her designated seat and greeted with a hoarse voice, "Good morning." Elvis and Leah stood on her left and right, protecting her in the middle, ensuring that the cool night breeze would not blow at her. Their furry tails lightly covered her eyes, ensuring that the sunlight would not dazzle her eyes. Hearing her soft, "Good morning," the two large tails released each side and two red lips landed on Gu Mingming's cheeks at the same time. "Good morning. Good morning." On one side was a subwoofer while on the other was a cello. Two different sounds played together, creating the first good mood for Gu Mengmeng every morning. After getting up and packing up, the males had already tied up the lotus roots with the tree vines they had plucked overnight and carried them on their backs. Gu Mengmeng naturally did not have to carry them herself. Wabi walked up to Gu Mengmeng and looked down at her condescendingly. "I am leaving." Gu Mengmeng smiled and nodded. "Yeah, see you next year." Without saying anything more, Wabi turned and swam towards the Snake King Valley. On the other hand, Gu Mengmeng just patted her own face and snuggled into Elvis's arms. After giving the order, they headed back to Saint Nazaire on the path they came from. "You said it's to dig up lotus roots, but it's actually to give Wabi, right?" Leo wagged his large tail and looked at Gu Mengmeng slyly. Chapter 1097. After returning to Saint Nazaire, Gu Mengmeng distributed the lotus roots equally to the females and omnivorous orcs in the tribe. Gu Mingming's house had 2 portions for herself and Leah. Although it was not a lot, it was at least one more side dish compared to last year and the year before. Otherwise, Gu Mengmeng would really go crazy if she had to eat potatoes, meat and sweet potato paste every day. Elvis did not spend much time at home recently. He would leave very early every day and return very late. He had been busy hunting and storing food. He could not do much in terms of vegetables, but at least he had to try his best to satisfy Gu Mingming's needs in terms of meat. So not only did he demand quantity and quality, he also had an almost perverted obsession with the type of meat. It was as if he was collecting stamps and could not wait to hunt all kinds of stamps for Gu Mengmeng. Leah stayed at home to accompany Gu Mengmeng as he pickled the prey Elvis brought back. By right, this should be Lee's favorite job, but now, Gu Mengmeng supported her cheeks with both hands and tilted her head to look at Leah, who was rubbing the rouge and meat. She would poke Lee's chest with her fingers every now and then and chuckle. "Mengmeng," Leah called out to her helplessly. Gu Mengmeng smiled, her bright eyes reflecting the sunlight. She looked at Leah and said, "How long is the gestation period of a fox? If we work harder this winter, will we be able to have a nest of little foxes by the time winter ends tomorrow?" It was the topic of childbirth again. As Elvis already had 4 sons, Gu Mengmeng had never pestered him to talk about these things. From a certain point of view, it could be said that she had escaped a calamity. Leah had originally thought that she would forget about this matter after a few days, but in the end, once they were alone, Gu Mengmeng would pester him and talk about little fox non-stop. He didn't dare to tell her that he didn't want to give birth because she would look at him with tears in her eyes and ask him if he didn't love her, so he didn't want her to give birth to little foxes. Only God knew how much he wanted a nest of children of their own, but she had forgotten the torture she had suffered during her last labor, but he still remembered it clearly. That day, his whole body was trembling. His heart felt as if it was tied into a dead knot by thorns. Every breath he took made his heart ache. At that time, she was not his partner yet, but his heart had already ached to this extent. Now, he couldn't bear to see her suffer in the slightest. If only giving birth was something that a male could do for her, then he would definitely fulfill her desire to have a nest of little foxes even at the cost of his life. However, he couldn't feel the pain for her. "Hey, Leah, Are you really not going to touch me for the rest of your life? Gu Mengmeng leaned forward and placed her little hand on Li's shoulder. She laid her entire body on Li's back and whispered into his ear, "During winter, the entire cave is sealed off by the heavy snow and the entire cave is sealed. Once I think about that, the fog's seductive fragrance will fill the entire cave, and it won't dissipate. Are you sure you can endure it?" "I'm not sure." Leah gritted his teeth in anger. Did he still need the fog's seductive fragrance? Now that she was sticking to him like this, it was enough to fill his chest with fire. He wanted nothing more than to immediately push her down and ruthlessly bully her. He clearly knew what she would experience during childbirth, so how could he bear to do it? Sighing helplessly, Leah squatted back beside the pile of salt to continue marinating the meat. He turned around to look at the entrance of the cave. There was no movement at all. He must be really angry. If only you were like Oratin, then I could make a lot of delicious food to coax you. Leah smiled helplessly. Then, he secretly remembered to remind Elvis that other than beasts on land, Meng Meng also liked fish in the water and bird eggs in the trees. He must remember to bring some back next time. Gu Meng Meng threw a tantrum for 2 to 3 days. Elvis and Leah became very careful at home. In the end, Elvis couldn't stand Gu Mengmeng's gloominess and suggested a solution. Aside from the topic, today's update is over. Remember to help Susu light up the 5 stars when my babies leave comments. Thank you, baby. Chapter 1099. Xiao Meng. Elvis placed Gu Mengmeng on his thighs and held her shoulders with both hands. He accommodated her height and looked into her eyes, saying, "I know you have been in a bad mood these few days, but not letting you suffer is the bottom line that Leah and I will never give in to. So, do you want to take a nap and meet the beast deity? See if he has a little cheat similar to the kiss of the beast deity that can save you from the pain of childbirth. If he does, let you give birth. But if even the beast deity has no solution, then don't mention this matter again, and don't be in a bad mood because of this matter, alright?" Gu Mengmeng smacked her head. Why didn't I think of that? With that, she peeked at Leah, waiting for him to express his stance. Leah always had his ways with Gu Mengmeng. Regardless of whether she cried or threw a tantrum, he would always have a way to coax her. Only this time, she did not cry or make a fuss. She was even more cruel and sinister than the time when she chased him and Elvis out of the cave in the stray beast camp. This absolute cold-blooded violence was really driving him crazy. These few days, he had almost given in and said, give birth, give birth. If worse comes to worst, I will dig my heart out and commit suicide. Yes. Now that she had finally relented, he instantly felt as if spring had returned to the land. Sitting beside Elvis, he held Gu Mengmeng's little hand and kissed it, saying, "You have to promise me, if the beast deity has no other choice, you can't throw a tantrum over this again." Gu Mengmeng nodded. Then, she smiled for the first time in these few days. Turning around, Gu Mengmeng lay on the side of the bed. Then, she slowly closed her eyes, but the corners of her lips were still curled up. Layers of white fog blew towards them. When Gu Mengmeng saw the beast deity standing in the clouds, she could not help but smile guiltily. The previous time she came, she said that she wanted to be a filial daughter and come back to watch television with him when she was free. But after the incident with Oakley, she suddenly had a deep understanding of parting. She desperately wanted to cherish the person in front of her, hence, he completely forgot about his promise to the beast deity. As the saying goes, a guilty person smiles first. Gu Mengmeng smiled like a sunflower and pounced into the beast deity's arms. She said in a sweet Hong Kong accent, "Papa, I missed you so much." The beast deity was a highly skilled person after all. He did not even laugh at Gu Mengmeng's fawning. He maintained his usual kind and amiable demeanor as he gently patted Gu Mengmeng's little head. "Yeah, a married daughter is like spilled water. Although I was already mentally prepared, I was still looking forward to it when you said you would come back to accompany me more often. Ah. Gu Mengmeng felt an arrow piercing her heart. She looked pitifully at the beast deity and blinked her eyes. Chapter 1100. Why did he sound like he was angry? Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around the beast deity's arm and said coquettishly, "Father, I know I was wrong. Don't be angry, don't be angry." The beast deity heaved a long sigh of relief before pulling Gu Mengmeng's hand to sit on the long bench. "All right, you heartless little thing. I have already scolded you and my anger has subsided. Since you are back, accompany me to watch television. We can talk about pocket money after that." "All right." Gu Mengmeng obediently held onto the beast deity's arm as they sat side by side on the two-seater wooden bench. Her furry little head rested on the beast deity's arm. Perhaps it was because they had known each other for a long time, or because she kept calling him father, but if one ignored the beast deity's overly young appearance, the two of them really did look like father and daughter. The beast deity waved his hand and a large part of the white fog dissipated. The image showed Monster Company's internal employee forum. There was a post titled, "CEO's wife arrogantly declared her sovereignty while the CEO turned into a wife-protecting maniac and accompanied her the entire time. P.S. There are pictures to prove the truth." The post was pushed to the top by many replies within a few minutes, then, it was deleted. Following that was an announcement from the CEO's office. The reason for deleting the post was that the surveillance footage provided by the post was not clear enough and did not perfectly display CEO's wife's beauty and intelligence. After being magnified 20 times, there was a mosaic on her facial features. Different angles of the screenshots also showed that her eyelashes were deformed. Regarding this, the CEO was furious. The solution was as follows: 1. The entire company's surveillance cameras had to be upgraded immediately. The quality of the images had to be the best in the world. The screenshots had to be projected directly onto the LED screens of the company's building so that every pore could be clearly seen. 2. Monster Company reserves the right to pursue the infringement of image of the CEO's wife for violating the rights to her portrait. 3. All employees immediately went to the latest highlight post to confirm and remember the CEO's wife's appearance. If any employee in Monster Company could not recognize the CEO's wife under any circumstances, it would mean that the employee lacked the most basic loyalty to Monster Company and would be fired. Following that, a new post was pinned by the officials. It was bolded, highlighted, and highlighted. The striking red font was unique in the corporate forum. The title of the post was, "The CEO's wife made a high-profile and domineering tour to declare her sovereignty. The CEO turned into a wife-protecting maniac and accompanied her the whole time. P.S. There are pictures and the truth." 2. HD version. The original content in the post was not changed at all. It was just that the photos had been replaced with the high-definition version that the technical department had just revised. The images in the monitor were carefully selected frame by the employees of the technical department and the corporate public relations department. The CEO only had one request, that was, no matter what the CEO looked like in the images, as long as the CEO's wife looked good, it was fine. This post was like a torpedo thrown into the corporate forum, blowing up the warehouse manager Old Wang, who had been lurking in the shadows for many years. A symbol that belonged to him. Was it similar to a dog's collar? "You don't like it?" Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and said, "It's not that I don't like it, it's just that other people give couples rings or something. Why did you give a necklace?" Chapter 1102. Before he finished his sentence, Snake had already pulled open the drawer where he took out the necklace. He took out a red velvet box and opened it to reveal a pair of snake-shaped rings. The male and female rings were placed side by side. They were two intertwined snakes, with a diamond in the middle. It was not a particularly extravagant size, but it was dazzling and eye-catching. Even a fool would know that it was worth a lot. When the two rings were separated, the diamond was embedded in the female ring. It was obviously an extra piece, but it didn't stand out. Just looking at the shape of the female ring, it looked like a snake was coiling around the diamond to protect it. It was very special and exquisite. On the other hand, the male ring was missing a piece. It looked like an incomplete snake, giving off a sense of fragility. This. Gu Mengmeng looked at the rings in confusion. She did not understand why the rings Snake had prepared were in the shape of a snake. Snake caressed the diamond on the ring gently. Do you know? To a snake, the heart is not its weakness, but its gallbladder is. The place where this diamond is located is where the gallbladder of the male snake is. He gave his gallbladder to the female to protect, which means that in the eyes of the male snake, the female is more important than his own life. When the two rings are together, they are a lingering pair. If they are separated, the male snake will be incomplete, a snake without gallbladder will die. Snake held Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it. If you stay by my side, I will be happy. If you leave me, I will die. When I put this ring on for you, it means that I am entrusting my life to you. And I have already prepared the rings. What about you? Are you ready to wear them? For some reason, when Gu Mengmeng heard the words "a snake without gallbladder will die," she felt as if her heart was stung by a bee. The slight pain made her frown. Closing the lid of the ring box, Gu Mengmeng shook her head. We just confirmed our relationship, it's too fast. Snake did not force her. After all, she had not reached the legal age for marriage. Moreover, regardless of whether she had the certificate, he would not allow anyone else to snatch her away. So this pair of rings had to be worn on her finger sooner or later. He would not tell Gu Mengmeng what had happened in the beast world. He had designed this pair of rings just to let her know that no matter how many times he had to go back, he would still be willing to cut open his chest for her. Whether it was in the beast world or here, she was more important than his life. I'll only borrow your life once. This journey will be the rest of my life. Snake gently kissed the side of Gu Mingming's face, saying gently but without any resistance, Tu Meng, we still have a long time to be together, so take it slow, I'm not in a hurry. However, you must know one thing. You promised to be with me, and I won't allow you to go back on your word. As long as you don't leave me, I can do whatever you want. Gu Mengmeng smiled. Promise me anything. Yes. Snake nodded. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, then, let's raise a dog, alright. Gu Mengmeng had a thing for furry animals, but due to financial reasons, she had never kept any small animals. In the past, she had fantasized about raising a pet with her boyfriend one day. That must be a wonderful thing. However, Snake raised his brows and his eyes darkened. Chapter 1103. Sniggering, Snake asked, what kind of dog do you want? Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and said, something like a golden retriever or a Samoyed that is obedient and good-looking. It would be very eye-catching if you bring it out for a walk. Snake held onto Gu Mingming's waist and made her stand up to face him. He looked up and smiled, I have a better suggestion. Gu Mengmeng was curious. Snake pulled out his tie and stuffed it into Gu Mingming's hands. Then, he stood up and placed both his hands on the office table beside Gu Mengmeng. He tilted his upper body and hugged Gu Mengmeng to his chest. His thin lips pressed against her ear and he said, I will be your dog and listen to you. I will let you look at me however you want. Gu Mingming's face turned red and she instinctively tightened her grip on Snake's tie. Snake took the opportunity and pounced on Gu Mengmeng, pressing her onto the office table. The smile at the corner of his lips spread to the bottom of his eyes. Snake said in a teasing tone, moreover, walking me will definitely be more eye-catching than walking a golden retriever or Samoyed. What do you think? Girlfriend. You get up first. This position was so intimate that Gu Mengmeng felt like she could not breathe. But Snake pursed his lips and seemed to be thinking about something. After thinking for a while, he said, "If you want a pet to be obedient, you have to give some reward, right?" What reward? Gu Mengmeng whispered. Snake kissed Gu Mengmeng's lips lightly and said, "Stroke my head and say, 'My snake is so obedient.'" Gu Mengmeng blushed and felt as if she was being kissed by Snake's cuteness. She raised her hand and touched Snake's head gently. She said softly, My snake is so obedient." Snake gave Gu Mengmeng another peck on the lips in satisfaction before straightening his body. Snake's lips were still curled upwards. He had always been envious of Leah being stroked by Gu Mengmeng in her arms. Now that he had experienced it, it felt really good. It was no wonder that the fox did not mind others calling him a beast pet. If being a pet could receive such tenderness from her, then there was no difference between being a dog and being a snake to Snake. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came from the door. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly stood up and adjusted Snake's suit and tie. Due to the pressure just now, there were some slight creases on Snake's suit, which Gu Mengmeng could not smooth even after stroking it a few times. But Snake did not mind at all and directly said, "Come in." Gu Mengmeng instinctively took a step back, but Snake hugged her waist. He lowered his head to look into her eyes and said, "Continue tidying, don't push me away." The Secretary General, who came in to report, was forcefully stuffed with a handful of dog food. Fortunately, he was calm and collected. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he adjusted his state of mind and said, "President, there will be a meeting in 5 minutes. The senior executives are already waiting for you in the conference room." Snake did not say a word. He just raised his hand and made a "get out" gesture with 2 fingers, meaning that he understood. The secretary was already used to Snake's simple and crude way of handling things, so he bowed respectfully and said, "CEO, madam, I will leave first. If you need anything, please call me anytime." Chapter 1104. Tu Meng, come here. Snake held Gu Mingming's hand and walked into the resting room in the office. Then, he pulled open the wardrobe door and said, "Choose one, I will change." Gu Mengmeng knew that it was Snake's working hours now. As a CEO, he had to dress appropriately. His nobility meant that he would not wear a wrinkled suit to attend important meetings. "Don't hug me in the office next time." Gu Mengmeng mumbled softly. Snake hugged her from behind and asked softly, "Why?" Gu Mengmeng replied, "It's too troublesome to change clothes after a hug." "I don't find it troublesome." Snake chuckled. He knew that his Tu Meng had misunderstood, but he did not want to explain. Because in a while, she would know why he wanted to change his clothes. Gu Mingming's lips curved upwards at Snake's words. It was a beautiful smile. Taking out a dark coffee-colored suit, Gu Mengmeng placed it on Snake's body and measured it. Gu Mingming's eyes widened in shock. It was a 4-piece business suit. It was the kind of suit that only the top talents who walked out of elite magazines would wear. The word Meng was clearly embroidered on the left chest area. It was not an M, but the Chinese word Meng. Gu Mengmeng blinked at Snake and said, "This." Snake chuckled and kissed her shocked eyes. Then, he said, "I prepared it long ago. It's just that I have the right to wear it now. I wanted to tattoo it on my chest, but this body belongs to you. I did not dare to use it without your consent. I could only settle for the next best thing. I embroidered your name on every piece of my clothes to announce to the world that I am yours." He gave her a necklace and said that it was proof that she belonged to him. She felt a little awkward and felt that it was a leash used to tie a dog. But he treated himself to the extreme. He blocked all the possibilities of other people having wild thoughts about him without any blind spots. He really gave up an entire forest for her, a small tree. And it was the size of the Amazon rainforest. Gu Mengmeng pounced into Snake's arms and hugged him tightly. She said, "You are really the best boyfriend in the world." Snake chuckled and hugged Gu Mengmeng back. With her in his arms, his life seemed to be full. This feeling was really blissful. Moreover, his body was warm now. Even if he hugged her like this, he didn't have to worry about her feeling uncomfortable from the cold. Yes, and he will be the best husband in the world in the future. Gu Mengmeng blushed and instinctively glanced in the direction of Snake's desk. Snake cupped Gu Mengmeng's little face with both hands and kissed her. "All right, I'm going to the meeting. Wait for me here." Gu Mengmeng nodded. Then, Snake walked out of the resting room wearing the suit with the word Meng embroidered on the left chest and went straight to the meeting room. Chapter 1105. Just as Gu Mengmeng was about to leave, her phone suddenly vibrated. Looking down, she saw the name displayed on the screen as 743. Page 7, paragraph 4, line 3, hello. Gu Mengmeng was a little confused. Wasn't he in a meeting? Why was he calling her? "There's a document on my table, bring it to the meeting room for me." Oh. Gu Mengmeng stood up and walked to the office table. She saw 2 documents clamped in a blue folder and asked, "There are 2 here, which one do you want?" "Anything. Anything." Gu Mengmeng frowned in confusion. Snakel immediately added, "It's all the same, just take any set over, hurry up." Oh. Gu Mengmeng did not suspect anything and just took one out of the office. The meeting room was 1 floor below. Gu Mengmeng took the elevator specially used by the CEO down and there was already someone waiting at the elevator entrance. The moment the elevator doors opened, he bowed respectfully and greeted, "Madam." Gu Mengmeng was shocked and before she could explain, she saw that person gesturing for her to follow, before hurriedly leading the way. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to follow. At the entrance of the meeting room, the welcoming person pushed open the soundproof glass door and invited Gu Mengmeng in. "Thank you." Gu Mengmeng was still not used to being treated like this. Actually, she had her own hands and could open the door herself. "Tu Meng, come here." Snake stretched out his hand, palm facing upwards. Gu Mengmeng thought that he was in a hurry for the document, so she ran around the meeting table and handed the document to him. In the end, Snake did not even look at it and just casually threw the document to one side. He then grabbed Gu Mengmeng's arm and pulled forcefully, causing Gu Mengmeng to fall into Snake's arms. Snake then heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Indeed, I can only feel at ease when I hug you in my arms. I missed you so much after not seeing you for 5 minutes." With that, Snake buried his head into Gu Mengmeng's neck and rubbed against her, greedily inhaling her scent. "Stop fooling around. Everyone is watching." Gu Mengmeng struggled to get up, but Snake did not want to let go at all. He raised his head from Gu Mengmeng's neck and glanced coldly at the higher-ups sitting around the meeting table. Then, everyone lowered their noble heads in unison. Above everyone's heads was the special effect of, "You can't see me, you can't see me. No one is watching. Let me hold you for a while." Snake was very satisfied that even the manager he hired knew how to read people's expressions. He had no choice, his Tu Meng was too shy. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng was still struggling, Snake whispered into her ear, "Be good and let me hug you, or we can do something else here." Gu Mengmeng's face was burning red and she did not dare to act rashly. But it was really inappropriate to be hugged like that during a meeting. It felt like King Zhou of Shang was still hugging Daji when he was attending court. "Don't be like this. People will say that I'm a femme fatale." Snake chuckled and pecked Gu Mengmeng's lips lightly. He said, "Silly girl, my kingdom is more than enough to support a femme fatale like you." Gu Meng Meng was tickled by Snake. And when Gu Meng Meng smiled, Snake's lips curled up too. Then, the entire meeting room brightened up. Continue. With Snake's order, the meeting could finally continue. Chapter 1106. At 11:50 in the afternoon, Snake closed his laptop. Everyone in the meeting room stood up in unison and bowed to Snake before filing out of the room, closing the door behind them on their way out. Asking for documents was an act. Gu Meng Meng finally asked. Snake tapped Gu Meng Meng's little nose lightly and said, "So smart." Gu Meng Meng felt a sweetness in her heart as she lowered her head and chuckled, "No wonder you said it's all the same. So it's because you don't need it, so you can take anyone." Snake hugged Gu Meng Meng and kissed her, asking, "Did I scare you?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, "I don't really understand what you guys are talking about, but I don't find it boring either." Because Snake was really too handsome. As they had to use the projector, the meeting room was in a semi-dark state. Gu Meng Meng sat in Snake's arms and used the light from the projector to look at his face that flickered between light and dark. That focus gaze was sharp and precise, like a snake that had locked onto its target in the dark. He was calm and at ease, exuding the unique confidence and aura of a superior, making others unable to help but admire him. And such an outstanding man was her boyfriend. Just thinking about it made Gu Meng Meng's little heart throb uncontrollably. How could she have the time to be bored? And Snake naturally did not ignore Gu Meng Meng's admiring gaze, or else he would not have allowed the meeting to continue until now. After all, he had opened the company to please her, not to make her suffer. Yeah, it seemed like the information in her memory was not all wrong. At least what she had said before, a man who works hard is the most attractive, was true. Lunch was takeaway ordered by the Secretary General. After a simple meal, another round of meetings started. Snake had to use a weekend to settle a week's worth of work, so the workload was very heavy. When they were about to leave at night, they realized that it had already started to rain. Snake drove from Monsieur Company's underground car park to the villa's underground car park. They did not need to use an umbrella and reached home safely. After entering, Snake held Gu Meng Meng's hand and sent her to the door of the room. With one arm around her waist and the other against the door, he leaned over and kissed her forehead, saying, "You must be exhausted today, right? Quickly go and rest." Gu Meng Meng nodded. Just as she was about to leave, she realized that Snake did not let go at all. Her entire body was encircled by his chest. How could she leave? Upon receiving Gu Meng Meng's questioning gaze, Snake pursed his lips and said, "I can't bear to let go. Why don't you invite me in for a cup of tea?" Gu Meng Meng chuckled. "How can I have tea in my room? You've been hugging me all day. Haven't you had enough? Let go of me." Snake took a deep breath and hugged Gu Meng Meng tightly. "Yeah, I'm used to hugging you for a day." As soon as I let go, I felt an emptiness in my arms. I felt uncomfortable. Gu Meng Meng pushed Snake's chest lightly. After hesitating for a moment, she took the initiative to kiss Snake's face and said, "All right, good night." With that, she ducked out from under Snake's arm, opened the door, returned to the room and closed the door. Sliding onto the floor against the door, Gu Meng Meng was still holding onto her heart that was beating out of rhythm, smiling secretly with a blushing face. Crack. Chapter 1107. Snake chuckled and his lips curled into a confident smile. He then knocked on the door and said, "Tu Meng, there's thunder, I'm scared." Gu Meng Meng couldn't help but laugh out loud at the door. She didn't open the door and just sat at the door and said, "You're a domineering CEO and you're scared of thunder. I'm someone who went to primary school, don't lie to me." Snake squatted down outside the door and accurately placed his hand on the back of Gu Meng Meng's head through the door. He chuckled and said, "I'm your dog." Don't you feel heartache letting your pet face the thunder and lightning alone on a stormy night? Pfft, she still remembered this. Tu Meng, did I tell you before? I have a spare key to every room. Gu Meng was stunned and turned to look at Snake through the door. It was as if Snake could feel her gaze through the door. He smiled and said, "Open the door yourself and accompany me as your pet. Or I'll use the spare key to open the door and accompany you as my girlfriend." You know the difference between the two. Understood instantly, damn it. Gu Meng was once again amazed at how she knew so much. Click. Gu Meng gently turned the door handle and moved it a little. The door was opened a little, but it was enough to light up Snake's entire world. He pushed the door open and without another word, he pounced on Gu Meng and kissed her carelessly. He said, "You actually locked your own dog outside the door. Heartless master, do you think I should bite you?" Don't, our Snake is the most obedient. Don't bite me. Gu Meng admitted defeat. She could never get tired of hearing the term "our Snake." His mood was great, but Snake wanted to bite her even more. After pondering for a while, he bit her little chin lightly and then hugged her in his arms. He said, "I'll let you off this time. Next time you lock me outside the door, I'll let you know how powerful your dog's teeth are." Not locking him outside the door, did that mean he could come in and stay as he pleased? Gu Meng shook her head and said, "That I can't." Snake pinched her little face and said, "I especially don't like the way you shake your head at me. But I just want a hug, nothing else." Snake said, "But if you reject me again, I might not be able to control myself and have you first. Then, tomorrow, I will tie you up and bring you to Europe to get your marriage certificate. Well, you don't have to wait until you're 20 to get a license in Europe. You promise?" Gu Meng knew Snake's capabilities well. He would definitely do what he said. Snake nodded and said cautiously, "Yes, I promise." Gu Meng knew that there was no use in resisting, it would only make the outcome worse for her. Moreover, Snake had already promised and she believed that Snake would not go back on his words. So he nodded and said, "Then get up first, I'm going to wash up." Together. Snake flipped over and stood up before pulling Gu Meng into his arms. Like Siamese twins, they entered the washroom to wash their pants together before returning to the bed to lie down. Before he switched off the lights, he planted a kiss on Gu Meng's forehead and said affectionately, "Good night." Drawing a perfect end to this beautiful day. To snakes, rainy days always made them feel happy. The fog gathered again and Gu Meng looked at the screen disappearing behind the white fog. She laughed bitterly and said, "Snake is really, as domineering as usual." Aside from the topic, are you satisfied with the special Snake special that my babies have been waiting for? Chapter 1108. The Beast Deity chuckled. "Say, do you think there will be a mosaic in the next episode?" Gu Meng rolled her eyes at the Beast Deity. Is there any father who would discuss such content with his own daughter? The Beast Deity thought for a moment. That's true. For the sake of my daughter's mental and physical development, if there is really any inharmonious content, I will cut it off and not broadcast it. Gu Meng held her forehead in exasperation. The Beast Deity pinched Gu Meng's little face. All right, the drama is over. Tell me, why did you come to find me? Gu Meng pursed her lips. She was a little shy. But she still told the Beast Deity about what Leah and Elvis were worried about. The Beast Deity chuckled. How can giving birth be painless? But you have Snake's power to protect you. You won't die. What are you afraid of? Don't be a coward. Just give birth. Gu Meng sighed with a bitter expression. That's what I said too. But Elvis and Leah don't agree, then don't give birth. The beast deity said. Gu Mengmeng stared at the beast deity coldly. Father, can't you be more resolute? The beast deity shrugged. The beast father doesn't even want to keep the child. Why do you still insist on giving birth to his child? Gu Mengmeng lowered her head. I already owe the two of them in terms of relationships. I hope to make it up to them in other aspects. Elvis already has a nest of wolf cubs. If I don't give birth to a nest of fox cubs for Leah. The beast deity chuckled. He shook his head in exasperation. Other males try their best to coax their females to give birth to their cubs. Why is it the other way around for you? Gu Mengmeng was not annoyed by her father's mockery. She shook the beast deity's arm. Is there a way? Father, the beast deity sighed. There is a way. But you have to find it yourself. Ha! Gu Mengmeng looked at the beast deity in confusion. The beast deity said calmly, love of the sky. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. Her eyes dimmed. One of the 7 treasures? The beast deity nodded. The kiss of the ocean is tolerance. Soul of the forest is life. Gu Mengmeng continued the beast deity's words and said softly, light means to dispel all darkness, including all pain, right? This concept was what Wang Xiaoxin had told Snake's father in his memory. The beast god nodded and said, yes, if you could wear the love of the sky during labor, it wouldn't be so painful. Gu Mengmeng was a little dejected. She lowered her head and fiddled with her fingers. I don't want to gather all those things, Tisk. The beast deity placed his hand gently on Gu Mengmeng's shoulder and said, even if they are all gathered, the final authority is still in your hands, understand? Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, I understand, let me think about it carefully. The beast deity did not say a word. He could provide help to Gu Mengmeng, but he could not dictate her decisions. After all, with his status, he could not interfere with the matters of the beast world. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and asked again, then about Wabiai. The beast deity continued shaking his head. Gu Mengmeng said, yeah, I understand. I still can't say. Alright, I won't ask anymore. I'll go back first. Chapter 1109. Whenever she woke up, she would always be faced with Elvis's concerned gaze. Gu Mengmeng remembered that Elvis had told her before that he would always feel uneasy whenever she went to see the beast deity. This kind of uneasiness was without reason, but Gu Mengmeng could not say that he was worrying for nothing. Sometimes, a man's sixth sense was very accurate. What's wrong? Elvis asked as he helped Gu Mengmeng up. Before he finished his sentence, the cup of water was already at Gu Mengmeng's lips. Gu Mengmeng drank a mouthful of water, then sat up straight. She looked at Elvis, pursed her lips and hesitated for a while, but still called Leah over. The 3 of them sat facing each other, before Gu Mengmeng said, I have to tell you something. Elvis asked softly. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and said, the beast deity told me that if I want to avoid the pain during childbirth, I just need to get the love of the sky. Li's smile obviously froze, his face full of disbelief. In order to not let Gu Mengmeng suffer, he had been trying his best to suppress his desire to have a child that belonged to him and her. Until now, he had accepted his fate and thought that he would never have a child of his own in this lifetime. But now, he had a chance. This huge surprise made him dumbfounded at the moment. After a long while, he reached out his trembling hands to hold on to Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and said carefully, Mengmeng, don't lie to me about this, you know I can't take it. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, I won't lie to you and Elvis. Even if you don't blame me, I won't lie to you. Li's arm tightened, locking Gu Mengmeng in his embrace. It was a strength that made Gu Mengmeng almost suffocate, as if he wanted to rub her into his chest. Gu Mengmeng could feel Leah trembling. She could clearly feel his agitation. How was it that he did not care about having a child? How was it that he had never been envious of others? He was so envious that he almost went crazy. He wanted it so much that he was almost possessed. But because he could not bear for her to bear the pain of childbirth, he personally extinguished all his expectations, not even allowing a single smoke to rise. He was too good to her. In order to be good to her, he could be cruel to anyone, including himself. I'll find the love of the sky. After that, we'll have a nest of little foxes. You like the little foxes so much, I'll give you as many as you want. I won't disobey you anymore. Finally, I can give you everything you want. Meng Meng, I've made you suffer these days because my attitude made you sad, right? Leah cupped Gu Mingming's little face and kissed it again and again, his heart aching for her. During this period of time, Gu Mengmeng had tried all sorts of ways to please him, coaxing and pestering him to give birth to a nest of little foxes. His heart ached when he saw her compromising look, but he could not bear to let her feel that pain once, so he kept rejecting her, avoiding her and even berating her. Every time he pushed her away, it was as painful as peeling off a layer of his own skin. But how could this kind of pain compare to the moment she frowned, which made him feel like a fishbone was stuck in his throat? Now, as long as he found the love of the sky, he would be able to love her as much as he wanted and would never have to push her away again. Meng Meng, why are you unhappy? Li's gaze landed on Gu Mingming's little face, which looked like she wanted to say something but stopped herself. She was clearly looking forward to having a nest of little foxes. Now that he had finally agreed, why did she look unhappy? Chapter 11:10. What's the matter? Leah held on to Gu Mingming's shoulders and asked. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and said, the tear of the beast deity, kiss of the ocean, love of the sky, soul of the forest, heart of the desert, spirit of the rocky cliffs and key of the beast king are the 7 treasures of the beast world. These 7 treasures are the divine items of the beast world. With any one of them, you can activate the bloodline of the beast king and dominate the beast world. If you gather all 7, you can open the doors of time and space. Elvis and Leah froze. The moment the words doors of time and space came out, it was as if everything in this world had frozen. Elvis and Leah even forgot to breathe and just stared at Gu Mengmeng blankly. In the next moment, the blood in their bodies boiled like white smoke rolling in ice. It looked surging but there was no warmth at all, it was bone-chilling. Elvis scooped Gu Mengmeng into his arms and hugged her tightly. He clenched his teeth and could not say a word. His blood-red eyes widened and in that instant, his eyeballs were filled with red veins. It was frighteningly hideous. Li's throat let out a low trembling cry. It was not anger or sadness, but the echo of an uncontrollable trembling under extreme fear. For words, Gu Mengmeng only used 4 words to scare the black and white duo that every tribe in the beast world feared so much that they felt chills all over their bodies and their souls left their bodies. No more, we won't give birth. Li's voice was full of determination and trembling. There was no hesitation at all. Nothing in this world could be compared to Gu Mengmeng, they did not even have the right to be compared. If he had to risk losing Gu Mengmeng to obtain something, he would rather destroy the world. He did not want anything but Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng sighed. She did not dare to say it all along because she was afraid that things would turn out like this. She thought that Elvis and Leah dared to let her enter the lake meant that they were not that afraid that she would leave. So, that person was already forcing himself to believe her. The words doors of time and space were still too serious for them. Hugging Elvis back gently, Gu Mengmeng said softly, "Don't panic, let me finish." His ears were ringing and his mind was filled with Gu Mingming's words. You can open the doors of time and space, the way she cried and said she wanted to leave, the way she smiled and thanked him before lying in the middle of the lake, the way she curled up in a corner and said she did not belong here. All he could think of was the way she wanted to abandon him. Fear. Every inch of Elvis's nerves was telling him that he was extremely afraid. Even though he was holding her like this, he still couldn't shake off the fear of losing her in the next second. Gu Mengmeng knew that their emotions were fluctuating too much. Chapter 11:11. I know. It was just 3 simple words, but it was as if Elvis's entire chest had been torn apart. He knew, all his rationality told him that Gu Mengmeng would not leave him. They also had such blissful days, Hedda and his brothers whom she cared about, Leah whom she liked, Sandy whom she cared about, but even though he knew, he still felt uneasy. Even though he was hugging her like this, he still felt that she could slip away from his fingers in the next second, just like a gust of wind, just like a handful of sand, just like the sunlight that could not be held back, just like the ocean waves that could not be held back. But I can't control myself, I'm still afraid. Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's face with both hands and kissed him deeply on the lips. Elvis was stunned at first, then he kissed her back crazily. If she wanted a kiss, he would give her the hottest kiss. He could satisfy all her needs, really. As long as she didn't leave, as long as she stayed, as long as she didn't abandon him, he could do anything, really. Really, Elvis's kiss was lingering, passionate and urgent. His uneasiness and desire were clearly conveyed to Gu Mengmeng through this kiss. Gu Mengmeng allowed him to entangle her tongue and only responded gently. She calmed his emotions slowly, softly, and gently. The kiss lasted for a long time until Elvis finally calmed down. This kiss was only left with deep love. Gu Mengmeng then slowly let go of Elvis. Panting heavily like a fish on shore, her face flushed from lack of oxygen was filled with tenderness. She chuckled. Are you still afraid now? Elvis hesitated for a moment, but still nodded. I'm afraid. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to reach out a hand to Leah. Without hesitation, Leah held her little hand tightly in his palm. Gu Mengmeng's other hand was holding Elvis's. Both of them protected her in their palms, feeling that soft touch. They didn't dare to use too much force, afraid of hurting her, but they also didn't dare to let go, afraid that she would disappear. Gu Mengmeng took the initiative to hold their hands. Not only can you not leave me, I can't leave you too. I won't leave, I won't. Elvis and Leah nodded with much difficulty. Leah said, I always believe Mengmeng's words. No matter how uneasy he was, no matter how scared he was, as long as she said it, he would believe her. Elvis nodded and replied, Xiao Meng, you can lie to me about anything but this. You must never go back on your word, understand? Gu Mengmeng nodded. Why don't I make an oath to the beast deity? No. Elvis and Leah replied in unison, you are not allowed to swear recklessly. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. All right, I won't swear. But you have to believe me before I can continue. Elvis hesitated for a moment, then looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said firmly, Xiao Meng, I want you to promise me. If one day you decide to leave, take me with you, or kill me. And me, Leah said softly. Gu Mengmeng nodded helplessly. Chapter 11:12. This could also be considered as good news. At least it eliminated the possibility of someone plotting against Gu Mengmeng to force her into that door. Gu Mengmeng continued, among the 7 treasures, I have the tear of the beast deity, Qi Xian has the soul of the forest and the kiss of the ocean. I don't know where the love of the sky, the heart of the desert and the spirit of the rocky cliffs are, but what I am really worried about is the key of the beast king. Leah frowned and said, you mean, a child with the bloodline of the beast king? Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, Wang Xiaoxin wanted to use snake as the key of the beast king that year, so she found whales to mate with. Although the doors of time and space were not opened in the end, but Leah knew that there were some things that Gu Mengmeng could not say out loud, so he helped her to say, but the usage and activation methods of these 7 treasures have been passed down to the messenger's tribe, Sauter. The best proof is that Cole knew how to use the kiss of the ocean and the soul of the forest to save Qi. So, you are worried that Cole will target your next child with the bloodline of the Beast King. You are afraid that what happened to Qi will happen again, right? Gu Mengmeng nodded, indicating that what Leah said was exactly what she was worried about. One Qi had already exhausted her. If Cole did the same thing and abducted another child from her, she would really break down. She was really afraid that when she was about to stab Cole's chest with her sharp blade, the one standing in front of her would not be an enemy, but her child. The simplest way is for you to not have any more children. In the end, the topic returned to this. Lee's emotions were very strange. From the start, he had been trying his best to suppress his desire to have a nest of children with the same bloodline as her. Then, he completely destroyed this hope, and then rekindled it. But now, he actually started to hate those children who had yet to appear. As long as they never appeared in this world, did that mean that he would not have to bear the risk of losing Gu Mengmeng? Anyway, Qi had already been snatched back, so they did not need to pay Cole any ransom, right? Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, Leah. Lee's lips were pressed into a straight line. He did not say anything else and just avoided Gu Mengmeng's gaze. He did not want to anger Gu Mengmeng at this moment, not even the slightest bit. Gu Mengmeng tightened her grip on Lee's hand. Originally, after snatching Qi back, I had planned to give up on searching for the 7 treasures. But now, I have a new idea. Elvis and Leah frowned, their palms sweaty and their lips tightly pursed. Gu Mengmeng knew what they were worried about, but the more she did not explain herself, the more uneasy they would be. She might as well state her thoughts clearly, she believed that they would understand. Chapter 11:13. Gu Mengmeng paused for a while before continuing, there is only one set of the 7 treasures in this world. As long as both of you use one each, then no one will be able to gather all of them to open the doors of time and space. Gu Mengmeng's words made sense. The tear of the beast deity was in Gu Mengmeng's body. If Elvis and Leah used the heart of the desert and the spirit of the rocky cliffs to activate the Beast King bloodline, then anyone who wanted to open the doors of time and space could only choose to kill the 3 of them to obtain the 7 treasures. One Beast King could already look down on the entire beast world. When 3 Beast Kings gathered together, it would basically be the game mode of a pay-to-win warrior. They could ask arrogantly, who else? The iron triangle formed by Gu Mengmeng, Elvis and Leah was the most indestructible and stable relationship in the beast world. It was impossible to destroy them one by one. No matter which one of them was attacked, the other 2 would definitely come to their rescue immediately. So, it was simply a fool's dream to think of obtaining the 7 treasures from them. Once Gu Mengmeng voiced out her idea, Elvis and Leah immediately exchanged glances and their eyes lit up. That's right, their rationality had been blown away by the news of Gu Mengmeng will leave. They could not think of anything and fell into a huge whirlpool. But in a crisis, danger and opportunity coexisted. As long as they could snatch the remaining 3 treasures before Cole finished setting them up, they would have the upper hand and gain an absolute advantage. Even if they could only grab 2, it could be said to be an absolute advantage. Elvis circled his arms around Gu Mengmeng's waist and hugged her lightly. He kissed her forehead. Ever since I met you, I've started to be overcautious. I've even forgotten that taking the initiative is my style. Lee's thoughts were more meticulous and persistent. He brought Gu Mengmeng's little hand to his lips and kissed it. Leave this to me. Gu Mengmeng nodded and replied, yeah. For the past 2 years, Leah and Elvis had been keeping a low profile and only focused on Gu Mengmeng. They just wanted to live their simple lives in peace and had long forgotten their grand ambition of uniting the beast world for so many years. However, even if they did not cause trouble, trouble would never let them go. Blindly avoiding them didn't seem to be able to keep the peace. Since that was the case, why not make a big fuss? If their family of 3 became beast kings, they would like to see who would dare to play tricks in front of them. This night, Leah and Elvis could not sleep for the first time in a long time. Not worry, but excitement. The 7 treasures, which he had always rejected, suddenly became something that he had to obtain. They wanted to make Gu Mengmeng stay and ensure that no one in this world would dare to be presumptuous in front of her. Chapter 11:14. Mandy. Gu Mengmeng was rather surprised because the 16 valued females had a kind of adoration towards her that was similar to fans towards their idols. They liked her very much but did not dare to get close to her. Unless Gu Mengmeng took the initiative, they would always approach her, as if they were afraid of causing trouble for her. Mandy placed her hands behind her back and appeared rather uneasy. She took small steps towards Gu Mengmeng and said, "When the great witch doctor went to look for Ian in the morning, he said that I can come and play with you, play with a child." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and looked at Mandy like a child who had received candy, as if playing with her was a reward. Actually, her fox was just afraid that she would be bored at home alone, so he sent Mandy over to accompany her, right? Gu Mengmeng took a bowl and handed it to Mandy, asking, "Have you eaten breakfast?" Mandy shook her head, blushing slightly. "I was preparing to eat when the great witch doctor went over, but he said that he had prepared a lot of food for you in the morning and that I can come and eat with you. So, although our Ralph learned some cooking methods from great Leah, the taste is not that great. So..." Mandy instinctively swallowed her saliva. She looked at the big pot of fragrant stewed meat on the table in front of Gu Mengmeng, her eyes filled with desire. Gu Mengmeng waved her hand and said, "It's good that you haven't eaten yet, come and eat with me." Mandy agreed readily and happily sat down diagonally opposite Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. The smell left behind by Elvis and Leah on the stone bench was a declaration that this was the master's seat and she could not sit there. And the seat diagonally opposite Gu Mengmeng was the one that Wabi-I had sat on before. The smell was also very domineering and Gu Mengmeng was probably the only one in the beast world who had the guts to sit there. And the seat diagonally opposite was more fluid. Oriton, Barit, Ian, Fei Rue, and the other guests had all sat there before, so Mandy automatically sat there. Gu Mengmeng did not say anything and just scooped a big ladle of meat into Mandy's bowl. "Lee's cooking is especially good. Eat more." Mandy smiled sweetly. She took the bowl from Gu Mengmeng and took a bite, before letting out a satisfied sigh. Gu Mengmeng could clearly see the word happiness on her face. As Mandy ate, she said to Gu Mengmeng, "Great messenger, I heard the witch doctor ask Ian something about the love of the sky when I left. Ian didn't seem to want to talk about it." Gu Mengmeng paused and looked up at Mandy. "You have already mated with Ian?" Mandy smiled shyly and nodded. "Yes, we did it the day before yesterday." As she spoke, Mandy turned around. Between her 2 shoulder blades was a soaring eagle owl. It looked as if it was passing through a mountain stream, its gaze sharp and unstoppable. This was probably his most confident appearance. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Congratulations." Mandy smiled sweetly and said, "I still have to thank the great messenger for this matter. If you hadn't agreed, Ian would definitely have rejected me. On the day of mating, Ian told me that he had actually liked me long ago. However, as the previous master of the Eagle Owl tribe, he had responsibilities and obligations that he could not shirk from. Hence, he could only suppress his feelings and said that he had wronged me. He even apologized to me." Chapter 11:15. Mandy immediately became nervous. She pursed her lips and asked timidly, "Great messenger, are you angry at him?" Gu Mengmeng smiled and shook her head. "I usually rebuke him on the spot. I won't settle scores with him later." Mandy heaved a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. I was still worried. Ian was different from the other males in the beast world. He was probably the only one who would rebuke Gu Mengmeng other than Wabi. He was not afraid of her strength and identity like most males, nor was he blindly subservient like those males who had special thoughts about her. His loyalty could be compared to Barit's, but he would not treat her in a state of absolute obedience like Barit. Ian was the type who would help you even if he rebuked you. He was the type who would do anything for you while scolding you. Gu Mengmeng had thought that Ian would not say any sweet nothings with his sarcastic mouth. She did not expect him to apologize. Looking at Mandy's bashful expression, she must have been flirted with quite a bit. TSK, you bird. You still have two faces. However, Gu Mengmeng did not expose Ian. After all, Mandy's family was different from hers and Sandy's. Mandy's family already had 27 partners. Under such intense competition, as a bad friend, good friend, Gu Mengmeng naturally could not be a burden to Ian. Did you just say that Leo went to find Ian to ask about the love of the sky? Gu Mengmeng changed the topic. Mandy nodded. Yes, but Ian seemed to be avoiding it and did not want to talk about it. Yeah, it was naturally the right thing to ask someone who could fly about the sky. Ian's attitude was that he did not want to talk about it, not that he did not know. That meant that Leah did not find the wrong person. With Ian's brain, how long could he last under Lee's hands? Yeah, it had been a long time since she saw the black-bellied Leah online. Gu Mengmeng suddenly pitied Ian. Is the love of the sky what the great messenger is looking for? Mandy tilted her head and asked. Gu Mengmeng nodded as an answer. Mandy smiled and said, then I'll go back and help the Lord Messenger persuade Ian to tell the witch doctor everything he knows. Gu Mengmeng put down her chopsticks and looked at Mandy. Mandy, why don't you just call me by my name like Sandy? Great messenger, sounds so awkward. Can I? Mandy's eyes lit up. She felt like a little fan who had suddenly gotten her idol's private WeChat ID. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Yeah, of course. Gu Mengmeng. Mandy's eyes sparkled as her lips curled up uncontrollably. She called out Gu Mengmeng's name softly. Yeah. Gu Mengmeng responded, nodding and smiling. Ah. Mandy held her face in her hands and screamed. Just like a fan. Gu Mengmeng was actually quite surprised. After all, Mandy had joined Saint Nazaire for more than a year. Although she rarely stayed in Saint Nazaire, it was not to the extent that she would be so excited just by calling her name. After Mandy calmed herself down, she also felt that she had been very rude. She put down her bowl with a red face and said, Messenger. Gu Mengmeng, I'll go back first. You're not eating. Gu Mengmeng looked at the remaining half bowl of meat in Mandy's bowl and asked in confusion. Chapter 11:16. Mandy ran off in a flash and Gu Mengmeng could not stop her in time. Shaking her head in exasperation, Gu Mengmeng let her be. After Mandy's antics, Gu Mengmeng's unfamiliarity with being alone faded away. After clearing the bowls and chopsticks, Gu Mengmeng returned to the cave to retrieve 2 pieces of snake skin. Wabi had brought them for her so that she could change into 2 sets of clothes. But the snake skin on her body belonged to Snake and she did not want to take it off, so these 2 pieces of snake skin had been left unused. Now, they could be put to use. The wooden pail that Fei Rui had helped Gu Mengmeng wash was already completely dry. Gu Mengmeng tied the snake skin loosely to the wooden pail to act as a strainer, then opened the seal of the stone basin. She used a large stone bowl to pour the fermented grape juice onto the snake skin, filtering the juice before placing the pulp at one side. Gu Mengmeng slowly poured the juice into the 9 large basins. By the time she poured the 3rd basin, Elvis and Leah had already returned. The moment they entered the cave, the two of them were taken aback. Elvis went forward to carry Gu Meng Meng while Leah took the large stone bowl from her. "Why didn't you wait for us to come back and let us do it?" Leah asked as he copied Gu Meng Meng's actions of pouring the grape juice onto the snake's skin and filtering it into the wooden pail. Elvis grabbed Gu Meng Meng's little hand and placed it into his mouth, licking the sticky juice off her fingers. Gu Meng Meng giggled from the itch. "Anyway, it's boring to stay home alone, so I did something to pass the time. Sigh. I will go wash my hands." But Elvis did not let go. He tightened his grip on Gu Meng Meng's waist. "I can lick it cleaner than you can wash it." Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis speechlessly. "Stop fooling around," Elvis gently bit Gu Meng Meng's fingertip. "I haven't seen you for an entire morning. Be good and let me get closer to you." "Dirty." Gu Meng Meng blushed. But Elvis laughed. He kissed Gu Meng Meng's little face. "My Xiao Meng is so delicious, how can it be dirty?" With that, he sent Gu Meng Meng's little hand, which was stained with grape juice, into his mouth. He sucked and sucked, his deep gaze fixated on Gu Meng Meng's face, making her blush. However, Elvis seemed to be infatuated with the feeling of teasing her so much that she felt shy and at a loss for what to do. The more he sucked, the more exaggerated it became. In the end, it felt like an action movie. Gu Meng Meng quickly retracted her hand, her face so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. Not daring to look at Elvis again, she could only change the topic to Leah. "Mandy came to have breakfast with me this morning and said that you went to look for Ian to ask about the love of the sky." Leah nodded. "Yeah, I just wanted to give it a try. My luck is not bad, he must know. But he doesn't want to say." Leah nodded and replied, "Mm." Chapter 11:18. That's why you are not willing to tell Leah about this. Are you afraid that I will force you to go with me? Gu Meng Meng asked. Ian shook his head and said, "When I sought refuge in St. Nazaire, I said that as long as you take in my tribesmen and help us survive that winter, my life will be yours to command. If you must go find the love of the sky, I will bring you there even if I will be torn to shreds." But Ian tried his best to curl the corners of his lips into a bitter smile and said, "Because of my decision, the Eagle Owl tribe has become the shame of the Moda Mountains. I don't have the face to go back and face my former friends. I clearly remember that you came to seek refuge in St. Nazaire when you were at your wits' end. You just wanted your tribesmen to live on and did not do anything heartless. Why are you so ashamed to face others?" Gu Meng Meng was indignant. She could insult her friends however she wanted, but why should others despise her? Ian lowered his head and said, "The Eagle Owl tribe is not the first and will not be the last. But, only the Eagle Owl tribe left the Moda Mountains and gave up their duty to protect it. To the Moda Mountains, the Eagle Owl tribe is a traitor, a deserter and a betrayer." Gu Meng Meng tilted her head and said, Do you know me?" Ian looked up and looked at Gu Meng Meng as if she was an idiot. It was rare that Gu Meng Meng did not rebuke him. She pointed at her own nose and said, "Doesn't the bird tribe view serving the beast deity as the highest honor? Since that's the case, isn't serving me, the messenger of the beast deity, closer to the beast deity and more loyal to him than flying foolishly in the sky?" Ian looked at Gu Meng Meng and suddenly had a feeling of speechlessness. All roads lead to Rome. Being loyal to the beast deity is not the only way to defend a mountain range. Gu Meng Meng patted Ian's shoulder and said, "To let the beast deity see your loyalty, the first requirement is for you to stay alive. If you die in the Moda Mountains, the beast deity will not be able to see it no matter how horrible your death is. He will be very busy." Unknowingly, Gu Meng Meng's words were like a seed that sprouted in Ian's heart. Then, it gradually grew into a towering tree, absorbing all the haze that had been weighing on his heart for over a year. He had sought refuge in the Saint Nazir tribe where the messenger of the beast deity was. He was merely using a more direct method to continue offering his loyalty to the beast deity. Perhaps he hadn't pushed the Eagle Owl tribe to the point of no return, right? Ian curled his lips and looked up at Gu Mengmeng again. He felt that she was exceptionally pleasing to the eye today, but he could not help but praise her. "Ha, I didn't expect to hear something human from you one day. TSK, heartless." Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes at Ian, but she was not really angry. She just held her chin and looked at Ian, asking, "Is Moda Mountains far? How long does it take from Saint Nazir?" Ian said, "It took us 9 days to get here. If we travel on foot, it will take at least half a month." Gu Mingming's fingers tapped lightly on the edge of the table. Half a month, just the journey back and forth would take a month. Almost half of the rainy season had passed. If they left now, they would definitely not be able to return before winter. Chapter 11:19. All right. It was a simple word, but it carried the weight of a promise. Ian did not know what position Gu Mengmeng held in his heart. Was she the messenger of the beast deity respected by the Eagle Owl tribe and even the entire beast deity, or was she a friend whom he could sacrifice for? He only knew that Gu Mengmeng was a very special existence. No matter what happened during normal times, as long as she said the word, he would risk his life to accompany her without a second word. With the matter settled, Ian did not stay any longer. He held Mandy's shoulders and said, "Let's go back first, don't disturb others' meals." Mandy looked at the meat in Gu Mingming's pot with envy. She had wanted to eat more in the morning, but in order to help Gu Mengmeng persuade Ian, she only ate a small bowl before leaving. Now, that pot of meat might not even be enough for Leah or Elvis, so she was too embarrassed to stay for a free meal. She stood up and followed Ian out. After 2 steps, she stopped and turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng. She called out softly, "Gu Mengmeng." Gu Mengmeng looked up at Mandy, using a single room to ask her what was the matter. But Mandy smiled brightly and waved. "I'm leaving, goodbye, oh." Gu Mengmeng was at a loss. Then, she heard Mandy say to Ian in a soft but excited voice, "Did you see that? I called the great messenger's name, and she answered me." A crow flew past Gu Mingming's head, leaving behind 6 large dots. After Ian and Mandy left, Leah took over the bowl and chopsticks from Gu Mingming's hands. He put down the chopsticks and changed to a small spoon to feed Gu Mengmeng personally. Elvis lifted her by the waist and Gu Mengmeng fell into his arms. This dance, there was a demonic aura. Leah looked at Gu Mengmeng with a grin. "Mengmeng, do you think our family will have a new member soon?" Gu Mengmeng instinctively rubbed her tummy. "Not so soon. If I don't get the love of the sky, will the 2 of you make me pregnant?" Elvis held Gu Mingming's hand that was on his tummy. "Don't act dumb. Children are never considered family members." "Why?" Gu Mengmeng slammed the table and exploded. Why couldn't her child be considered a member of her family? Was there still justice in this world? Elvis chuckled, rubbing her little head and comforting her, because when they grow up, they will mate with other females and form a family. They cannot stay in our family forever, so children cannot be considered as family members. Gu Mengmeng thought about it. Yeah, she treasured her son, but she was not so perverted as to not allow her son to get married and tie him to her side to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Sigh, the pig that he raised would eventually have to steal someone else's cabbages. He had to accept this as soon as possible. Gu Mengmeng nodded and said with a little melancholy, "Oh, so our family only consists of you, me, and Leah." Chapter 11:20. Her hair stood on end. For the first time, Gu Mengmeng felt that Lee's smile was too scary. She shook her head. "No, I don't want to take in a vulture as a partner." Leah chuckled. That's right. The vultures live in the harsh Moda Mountains all year round. Their bodies are naturally stronger than ours. Moreover, they can fly. Apart from your beast pressure, no one can push them down from the sky at that height. So even if we challenge them to become partners, Elvis and I may not be their match. Moreover, if you fancy one, Elvis and I can become partners without the challenge. Gu Mengmeng cupped Li's face and stopped him from speaking more and more exaggeratedly. I don't want to become partners with a vulture. You are thinking too much. Li's mouth was pinched into a fish's mouth by Gu Mengmeng. His bewitching eyes matched with his adorable lips gave off a conflicting sense of cuteness. Gu Mengmeng smacked her lips and kissed him. Don't think too much. You and Elvis are enough for me. Our family doesn't need other males. Li's temper melted from the kiss. His tone unknowingly softened. The vultures rarely go down the mountains, but that doesn't mean they have never gone down before. In the past 1,000 years, they once went down to Sauter to meet the leader at that time. No one knows what they talked about then. But the vulture's looks were described vividly. Leah gently pressed down Gu Mingming's little hand that was pinching his face and said, his long brown hair is like the flowing water of an ancient lake. His slender and muscular physique is a perfect work of art forged by the harsh climate of the Moda Mountains. It is forged by the cold winds above the clouds and has its own lofty and unyielding character. They walk calmly in the Sauter tribe. That is because they have no fear because of their power. Just a glance from their sharp eyes would make others shudder in fear. They would automatically retreat and try to find a place to hide themselves. With that, Leah sighed. The Snow Fox tribe is such a proud tribe. How good-looking must they be to be able to pass down such a legend for hundreds of years? Meng Meng, I suddenly have no confidence in my own appearance. What if you really fancy a male vulture? Gu Mengmeng shook her head and sighed. Didn't you confidently tell me that there is no one better looking than you in this world and that I should just look at you? Why are you saying this now? Leah glanced sideways and said worriedly, back then, I felt that the vultures never set foot on land and you would never see them, so I was naturally the best looking. Who knew? Sigh. Gu Mengmeng leaned forward and kissed Li's face, saying, no matter how they look like, in my heart, you and Elvis are nothing. You said it yourself. Leah peeked at Gu Mengmeng from the corner of his eye and said proudly. Yes, 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 I will. Gu Mengmeng smiled helplessly, before snuggling back into Elvis's arms. Hubby, say, since the vultures are so powerful, why don't we bring them all back to Saint Nazaire after we get the kiss of the sky? Just like the Eagle Owl tribe, they can be incorporated into our air force. No. Elvis's rejection was resolute, without a trace of hesitation or hesitation. Chapter 11:21. I haven't forgotten how you drooled and acted like a hooligan when you first saw my human form. Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's little face. What did you say then? Touch and kiss me even at the risk of drowning, mmm. Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly. Don't mention the past. Let it go with the wind, but Elvis did not buy it. He continued to smile coldly and continued, you said it yourself, you're a veteran member of the Appearance Association and your motto is appearance is justice. You're handsome, so whatever you say is right. Gu Mengmeng was speechless. How could she reveal all her secrets? TSK, TSK, TSK. She felt good just because of her cheap mouth, but she regretted it the moment she said it. So, do you think I will allow a tribe whose looks gave Leah such a sense of danger to join Saint Nazaire and create a destructive crisis for myself? Gu Mengmeng shook her head. No. Elvis chuckled. He tapped Gu Mingming's little nose in approval. So smart. Gu Mengmeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hubby, I have to clarify something. I treated you that way because I was single at that time. Flirting with a handsome guy while single is not called acting like a hooligan. It's called creating an opportunity for love. Yeah, Leah and I have already grasped the opportunity you gave us. So we don't want to give it to anyone else. Elvis said softly. Gu Meng Meng was exasperated. I already have a partner. I won't give anyone else such an opportunity. Elvis stared into Gu Meng Meng's eyes. After a long while, he smiled. I know what you said is true. I don't need the vulture tribe to verify it for me. I will block all temptations for you. You just have to continue liking Leah and me. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. She felt that her image was hopeless. Leah and Elvis were sure that she was a female demon who lusted after men. Sigh, forget it. She wasn't wronged. After all, even if time could be turned back to the past, she would still act like a hooligan towards Elvis. Otherwise, wouldn't such a good husband be someone else's now? How could that work? Gu Meng Meng realized that Elvis was usually a man of few words, but when faced with such a situation, both his EQ and EQ would immediately come online to block her. But forget it, she did not have any other thoughts anyway. Whatever he said, it would only make things worse if they continued discussing. In the end, Elvis was certain that she was looking for a male vulture as a partner. But the heavens had pity on her. She had not even seen a single strand of hair from the vulture tribe, and she had already been made into a scandal. She felt even more wrong than Do-e. Leah tapped the area between Gu Meng Meng's brows. That smile clearly indicated that he and Elvis had the same thoughts and rejected Gu Meng Meng's suggestion. Gu Meng Meng wrinkled her nose and made a funny face at Leah, not saying a word. Leah said, the problem now is how to reach the highest peak of the Moda Mountains. From what Ian said, not all birds can go up there, let alone land beasts. Actually, there was a very simple solution. That was to let Gu Meng Meng sleep and ask the beast deity. But no one would bring up this suggestion now. Because Elvis and Leah were extremely afraid that Gu Meng Meng would directly transmigrate back to that dream realm. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.